All right. Just about 300 folks have logged in, so we're going to get this welcome started. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today for the virtual financial aid happy hour with Colorado School of Mines Office of Admissions, as well as our financial aid office. My name is Luke Contreras. I'm going to be one of our moderators today. Before we get started, we just want to pass off once again, congratulations on being admitted to Colorado School of Mines. Undoubtedly, you all have had the weirdest high school experience in the history of humanity. So we hope that you've taken some time to reflect and to celebrate y'all's accomplishments, such as getting into mines, as well as hearing a lot of good news from other universities, hopefully. I like to tell all admitted students that your first assignment as an admitted mines student is to make sure, just give a quick thank you to all the folks that helped you get you to where you are as well, whether it's your parents or family members or teachers or band directors, scout leaders, whoever's been a special person on this journey that you've gone on over the last 18 years. Give them a quick thank you because, believe it or not, it is February and many of you graduate high school in just a few months. So it's kind of crazy how fast time goes. Over the next hour, we hope to give you a big picture view of financial aid, because that is often the biggest conversation or the biggest conversation point when picking the right university for you. And so we hope to answer a lot of your questions, as well as maybe inspire you to reach out to us with follow-up questions as well, to kind of help make this process seem a little less intimidating. And I am joined today by a couple amazing folks here on the Mines campus that are here to be that lead a lot of the teams that support incoming first-year students, to help be that resource for all of you. They're going to introduce themselves, and then we're going to dive straight on in. So first, I want to welcome the Executive Director of Admissions for Colorado School of Mines, Mr. Dale Galvitz.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Luke. Really excited to be with you today. It's wonderful to see this many of you logging in and spending an afternoon with us. This is kind of our second annual, if you will, virtual happy hour. We're doing it in this format. And we started a tradition last year, and that is really kind of making it a happy hour and toasting all of the parents for a moment. We know there's a ton of parents on the webinar with us today. And as Luke said, everything you've done for the students absolutely should be celebrated. Everything you've done as parents and guardians to support your students to get to this point. If you've been accepted to Colorado School of Mines, then statistically that puts you in the top 3 to 4% of all high school students in the nation. And so parents, you've done an amazing job. And so I hope you have your favorite beverage of choice for happy hour. I have one of mine. And so I am going to pop a top and toast all of you. Congratulations on how far you've gotten. We are super excited for all of your success thus far. So cheers. So with our toast out of the way, our customary toast, I just wanted to say a few words. As always, we have a phenomenal group that's been admitted to Mines thus far this year. Our students are absolutely exceptional and have somehow navigated this crazy world that we have all been living through for the last 2 years. Sometimes crazy, sometimes sad, but just a truly bizarre time to try to navigate high school, to try to navigate college admissions, and now to try to navigate all of the financial pieces to get ready and set to go to college and through college. And we understand what a big deal this is. We understand what a big decision it is. My daughter is actually finishing up her second year of college right now. So we've been right in the middle of it with you. So we get that. This is not a small decision in any way. And so from a sort of admission standpoint and a university standpoint, we get to very confidently approach this issue. We know we're a little more expensive than some colleges that are out there, most colleges on the public side, but we keep getting accolade after accolade about our return on investment, the value of a Mines degree, the type of alumni group that you join when you graduate from Mines. And we actually just 2 weeks ago got another award where the research team at Georgetown University ranked Mines the #2 public university in the nation for return on investment for low to middle income families. And so that was another really exciting, because that's something that we take a lot of pride in. And it's something that our financial aid office truly strives to do a great job supporting the students. And, we can talk about kind of having rock star faculty. We can talk about having rock star students at Mines. I will add one group to that outside of course, I'm biased for our admissions team. Our financial aid team is a group of bona fide rock stars in the field. They truly are. They have training in financial aid that a lot of teams don't have, certifications in financial aid that a lot of teams don't have, and really do have a passion and a heart for students. So tonight we have Ann Rusk joining us from the financial aid team. And I'm excited to introduce her in a moment, Jill Robertson, who is our director of financial aid. I think she's been at Mines for 12 or 13 years now, if I've got that right, Jill, something along those lines. One of the ways that nationally you can grade how good does a financial aid office really do supporting students and working with them is called a loan default rate. And that's the percentage of students that graduate that are not able to repay their loan. And part of that is how good the overall university is doing with supporting jobs on their career paths, supporting students on their career paths. But part of that is just the great support that the student financial aid team really strives to give and delivers for students. You'll hear a lot of institutions out there that have 8, 9, 10% default rates, some worse than that in categories. I was on a different webinar for a national organization recently when a school was lauded for having a 4.3% loan default rate for their students, and what a great job they were doing, which was true. At Colorado School of Mines, our loan default rate is 0.2%. Let that sink in for a second. And that is just a true sign of the kind of work that our financial aid office does and just what amazing rock stars they are. So I just wanted to kind of share that for a minute, share the kind of team that you'll be working with as you go through this process with our team here and the kind of people that you're working with them. So with that little introduction, I will turn it over to Jill.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dale. Appreciate everyone attending. And I think we're at 0.7 default, but it's still less than 1%, regardless. We are one of the lowest default rates in the state. I think we are the lowest default rate in the state. So we are very proud of that. Our students do a great job of being responsible upon graduation. So thank you for that introduction. I do have Ann Rusk, one of my top employees, on chat, and she will be answering questions as quickly as she can. There she is. And putting some things in the chat in the Q&A for you. I am not good at like reading things or whatever. So if there are questions, Luke, I'm going to just assume you're going to just feed me the question as we move along, because I can't read and do all that at the same time. I'm too old. So the biggest question we usually get in my office this time of year is we have parents and students that contact us because they feel like they're missing something, right? They feel like, what have we not done? Have we done everything? So let's just get that out of the way first. All right. Everyone is exactly where they need to be. Okay. So congratulations. You can move into the weekend tomorrow with that stress, that weight off of your shoulders. Everybody is good. Where you want to be, or the things that you want to have done, is one, you've already done it, and that is be admitted to Mines, right? Because that's how the financial aid office knows you exist, is when you have been admitted. So congratulations on that. That's the first step. The other thing that you want to do, and if you have not done it yet, you certainly can still do that, and that is the free application for federal student aid, or the Fafsa. Because what being admitted and what the Fafsa will do is allow us to award you or create a financial aid package for you that we can then send to you, so that you can then say, okay, what is it that Mines is able to offer to us? What are some other options as we go along? So you really want to make sure you at least maximize. And some of our families will say, we're not going to be eligible. Let's just do it 1 year. You know what? Just go ahead and do it 1 year. Let's see where we're at. It is not required for scholarships. So if you have the presidents or provost, it's not required for that. But, you know, might as well do it once and see what happens. There is a, for the Fafsa, if there has been change in income, because it will ask you for 2020 tax information. If there's been a change with income, then you can do what is called a contribution review. So you can give us the information of what is now compared to what was, what you had to complete on the Fafsa. And my staff will go through, run the numbers in a test environment because we don't want to touch your Fafsa yet. We will run it in a test environment and let you know if there are any changes. That form is on our website, FinAid, so short for financial aid, finaid.mines.edu. And if you scroll down at the bottom, it says contribution review. And you just select the form that best fits your situation. And again, you can send it to us, you can email it to us. However you want to get it to us, we'll review it. And then we'll let you know what changes can be made on the Fafsa. If you do decide to attend Mines, then we'll go ahead and make those changes on the Fafsa for real and get a new award announcement out to you. So there is that option if some of you have suffered additional economic loss between after in 20 and because that's what the in 21. So we want to make sure that we are reflecting your correct income. So the other thing, once you have been admitted and you've completed the free application for federal student aid or the FAFSA, you also want to make sure that you complete the general scholarship application. This does require the student to claim their account. That information has been sent out to you by admission several times. If you don't have that information or that link, we can get it out to you again. But it will, students, by claiming your account, this does not make you submit your acceptance to Mines. It doesn't mean that you can only get in if you're accepted. So you just need to be admitted, and all of you have been, and you want to do the general scholarship application. Once you've claimed your account, you'll get into Trailhead, and you will go ahead and complete that. There is a March 1st deadline, so you want to make sure you get that general scholarship application in. We will let folks know who is going to be receiving these foundation scholarships. This is what the general application is for. Our donors give us money and they say, I want you to look for a student in this county in Texas or that city in Iowa or whatever it may be, this certain major or a grandfather in the fire department or whatever it may be. They let us know, hey, I want to give you money, and this is what the general scholarship application is for. We will find those students and then award them. We will let everyone know who has been awarded by April 10th via email. So students, be on the lookout for an email. That will be the latest that we will send. We hope to get it out earlier than that. If you do not hear from us, at this time, you have not been offered a scholarship through the foundation. What we do is we don't let people know, no, you're not getting one, because we don't know that. Because this is a database, and as new donors come on, my scholarship department goes ahead and offers scholarships and looks through that database to see who might fit that profile. So definitely fill it out and just know that as we move along, there's an opportunity to receive a scholarship. And then you also want to continue, if you haven't already, you want to start looking for outside scholarships. Okay, so high school counselors, some are good, some are not, but in general, they're going to be a good resource for you for outside scholarships. So you want to make sure that you're doing some searches on that. You want to read into the application, because sometimes it's a skydiving, but you don't have to be a skydiver to get the scholarship. So read what it is before you move on to the next one, and apply. Even a $500 scholarship will get you books for that first semester. So those are really the big things that people are like, what did we miss out on? There is no special handshake. There is no special door that you needed to go through. Everyone is treated the same here, and those are the things that you'll need to do to optimize the amount of aid and financial assistance that you can get. Okay, so those are kind of the big questions. Do we have any questions that I can answer yet, Luke? I have a couple other things I can cover, if not.
Well, we definitely have lots of questions. So
Okay.
if you want to cover, or we can dive straight into
There's just
questions.
two more things, so I
Perfect.
just don't want to forget them. The first one is, please, please, please sign up for our newsletter. Because when your students come, especially, and you can sign up now, and if your student decides to go somewhere else, you can just opt out. It's an opt-in, opt-out. It is on our finaid.minds.edu website, front page on the right-hand side, right underneath our contact information. Ann Russ has done an amazing job. She sends it out a few times a year and gives you a heads up of things to come. And the next one on March 1st is all about loans and what the difference is between a parent loan and an alternative loan, payment plans, and all kinds of good information in there. So you want to do the newsletter for financial aid. And then the other one is, if you decide to attend Minds, parents, you just have to know that these are your precious little babies, and we love each and every one of them. But when they get to Minds, they're now young adults, and they're unfortunately being thrown into the adulting, right? So it's their account, it's their business. We understand you are paying the bill, most of you, but it's still their account. So there is a proxy process, which is finaid.minds.edu/proxy. And you can get the information, and Ann can put that link in there, and you can actually get your own access to Trailhead. So you can view their awards, you can see what's paid, what hasn't paid, you can see if they have any outstanding requirements. You can't do any updating to it, but you can tell your student, you better get this done. So those are the two things I wanted to make sure before I forgot.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dale and Jill, for joining us today. So for the next little bit, we do want to turn it over to you all and answer questions live on the webinar. Now, a couple of things just to kind of put this all into perspective. There are 430 of you that are signed on today, which is awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. But admittedly, we won't get through all the questions till by the time it hits the top of the hour. So there may be some questions that we don't answer live via the webinar, but if you haven't noticed already, there's an army of folks behind the scenes answering your questions in the Q&A. It's both Ann from our financial aid office, as well as almost a dozen employees from the Office of Admissions, trying to answer as many questions as we can in both the Q&A as well as some live questions that we are answering with all of you as well. Now, we also want to recognize that saying that a lot of financial aid questions are very specific to your situation. And we want to answer those, but this may not be the best forum for that just because of how many people there are. So we are going to answer a lot of big picture financial aid questions. But if you do have any individual financial aid questions or individual questions specifically, you can always reach out to us or reach out to our financial aid office to learn more about how to set up a virtual or a phone appointment with financial aid staff if you have any specific questions. And last but not least, I know that the college enrollment and search process has a lot of questions about other things, such as how do my credits transfer or residence life. Those questions aren't going to be answered tonight. This is purely financial aid, but there will be another webinar specifically about housing on campus later this spring. So if you're curious about housing on campus questions, save those in an Excel spreadsheet and bring those when we launch that webinar later this spring. But we're going to dive into the questions. And the first question I want to throw at is at Dale. Dale, there are various merit scholarships that a student is awarded at the point of admission, and those are actually maintained by us at the admissions office. What does a student need to do, or what can happen if they want to appeal or be considered for more merit scholarship money via like the provost or presidential scholarships?
Great question. So there's really two steps that you can take. Well, three. I'll give you three different ways to handle that. One great option is to upload your new material into your student portal. You can do that directly there. The other way would be to send any new admissions, application information to the admissions at minds.edu website. And then the last is I will give you my email directly where you could just send those questions directly to me, and we will handle them as a team. We have a committee that meets regularly and looks at appeals for different kinds of things like that. If your GPA went up significantly from fall to or from last year and through the fall, or if you're a student that chose to take the SAT or ACT and you got a higher score and you think that might improve your overall application, any of those kinds of things, we're happy to take a look at that. Typically, we stop that around March 1st each year, but we've got a significant amount of students that are going to be receiving their admissions information around March 1st. So we'll actually add a few weeks to that process. So if you'll get that information to us by mid-March or so, we can have the committee meet and get you an answer. As we're answering other questions, I'll switch over my screen name to be my email so that you'll have that directly.
And Dale, just a quick follow-up. Are you talking about specific academic information like transcripts and test scores?
Transcripts and test scores, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Jill, there's a lot of questions about like a suggested timeline to submit the FAFSA to hear back in time. So if a family hasn't submitted a FAFSA yet, when do you think is a good time to send it in? What's a good timeline? And then what is the typical return, or how quickly would they hear back about a potential financial aid package?
So the process when it comes to packaging for financial aid is we do have kind of a soft deadline of March 1st. And the reason why we have a March 1st for the FAFSA is just so that we can get the FAFSA in, we can get you packaged, we can get an award letter out to you, and you have plenty of time to decide whether you want to attend Minds or not by May 1st. So that it's a soft deadline. So that's where you kind of want to focus on getting that in by March 1st. We package each and every week. So once we have the admissions information, we have your FAFSA and we match it up, the next Monday, we're going to package you. And then the following week is when we actually get the item in the mail. So it does take a couple of weeks once we have the admission and FAFSA matched up to package, get it to the printer, get it stuffed, get it in the mail, and get it out to you. It's about a 2-week turnaround.
And does that information also lives in the Trailhead account, correct?
It does. We will send an email once we know we have packaged, printed, and mailed. We then, at the end of that following week, will send an email saying, if you haven't yet received this in the mail, you should, but you can also see it electronically through Trailhead. So we'll send an email out to the student regarding that. Yep.
Awesome. And Jill, when someone gets a financial aid package, a really common term is work study. Can you talk a little bit more about what work study is, what that entails to a student to do, and how that money works?
Absolutely. So it's a great question. So one of the items that you will see on this award announcement is that it will be sectioned off. So we have grants and scholarships towards the top, and then we have what is called self-help aid down below. So that's student loans, a parent loan option, and work study. So if you are awarded work study, even if you are not awarded work study, you can still work on campus. And it's a great opportunity for students to get connected to the campus, get connected to offices, because we all hire students. So it's really a great way to get introduced to different parts of campus, is to work on campus. Generally, our freshmen work about 10 hours a week. That's enough for a little shampoo, pizza money, some maybe book money for the next semester. Work study, really what it is awarded because it's money that is either coming from the federal government, federal work study, or the state of Colorado work study. So you may see one of those two on your award letter. That means that that money is not going to be the fall portion is not going to be put into your student account to use towards tuition and fees and room and board. You're actually going to work and receive that money through a paycheck. So you'll get paid every 2 weeks and you'll start to earn that money. Once you've earned, you'll generally see about $1,500 on there, which generally is 10 hours a week, working all kinds of different jobs on campus. And that gets you pretty much from August to May. If you work more hours, then you'll go through that work study a little bit quicker. You're earning more money. And there's sometimes this opportunity where we can add more money to that so that you can continue to work on work study. If you don't have work study, because it does require need from the Fafsa, if you don't have it, it doesn't mean you cannot work on this campus. You will, because we don't have enough in either Colorado or federal work study funding to fund everybody, right? So we're all having to use our own money to pay a student wage. So working on campus is a great way to, especially if you're coming from out of state, maybe you don't know a lot of people, great way to get connected to the campus. Great question.
Awesome. And I think working on campus is great as well, because all of our offices recognize you're a student. And so if you need to adjust your work schedule for exams or midterms or projects or taking time off for the holidays, our offices are really good at making sure we respect that too.
Yep.
Dale, there have been a couple of questions about, like, how do I submit my enrollment information? When do I need to enroll by? Do you want to talk about the May 1st deadline and all that stuff to make sure everyone has clear, concise information on that?
Great, thanks, Luke. Yes, definitely. We go by the national May 1 deposit deadline or commitment deadline. There are a few different phrases for it, but what I would suggest is maybe don't wait till May 1st. We want to give you as much time as you possibly need to make that decision, but maybe somewhere along the last week of April, go ahead and try to get your deposit in then. About 1,000 universities, a little over 1,000 universities across the nation use not the same instance of a software system to do all these processes, but we do use the same company to do all these processes. And a lot of schools look at May 1, especially selective schools, look at May 1 as that big marker in the sand. So I know last year there were a few families that tried to get their deposit in right at the midnight deadline or something on May 1, and there was kind of a glitch. So my suggestion to you would be take all the time you need, but maybe go ahead and make that decision the last week of April and get that done. It is a non-binding deposit, right, up until that point. So if you decide, hey, I decide on school X, it just feels like a better fit or whatever, that would really hurt our feelings and it would be terrible. However, we'll still work with you on that. But that lets us know that you're really invested and you're excited to come to Minds. Definitely please get that in by May 1st. That mechanism will be shut off after that point.
Dale, I'm going to come back right at you with another question. And I know that this is typically handled by a different office, but do you want to give a little bit of overview about residency? We got a lot of out-of-state families that have joined us today. And do you want to talk about how, any basics on residency or how we can connect them to the right resources on campus?
Well, we definitely want to put our web page link in the Q&A. So we'll get that for you in just a minute. I would say, Colorado is not one of the friendliest states to gain residency. That's outside of Mind's hands. That's just a Colorado thing. But clearly, it's a fantastic state. So a lot of folks want to come here. That's why we live here. We love it. However, it's a bit of a process. So I would definitely go to the website that's being put in the Q&A right now and the chat. Look at those different steps. There are a few different ways to qualify for residency, but read through those steps. Those are the process of how to gain residency in the state of Colorado. If you are a military dependent, it is a completely different process. If you belong to a Native American tribe, then we now have a new bill in the state of Colorado if you're from any Native American tribe, you actually can gain in-state tuition for the state of Colorado. That's a new bill this last year. So there's a few different pieces on residency there. But instead of going into all the individual ways you can get there, all the information is accurate on our webpage for that. Great question.
Awesome. Jill, I'm going to throw it to you with a question that you kind of alluded to. I know that it's in March's newsletter, but do you want to talk a little bit more about payment plans and how paying the bill for Minds works?
So the bursar's office is really the billing entity of the university. But what will happen is the registrar's office will be enrolling you in July into your classes for the fall. So you don't have to worry about registering yourself. The registrar's office will register you in that first semester of classes. This creates then a bill that will come in July that will be created. We're hoping July, August at the latest, early August usually. And so it is just for the fall semester. So some things you might see on that bill will be tuition. It will be fees, so your base fees. Also, it will show what a charge for health insurance. You will have the opportunity to waive that charge for health insurance if you have the appropriate health insurance. All universities have to charge and make sure you have the appropriate health insurance as a student. So that charge will be on there that you'll see. You'll also see a charge for a residence hall room and a basic meal plan. Those will be for students that are living on campus and are going through the residence life process to do that. So those are the items that are billed, and you will just see half. You're just going to see the fall semester of billing. Those charges are what then your financial aid, when we run our disbursement process the week before school starts, that money for the fall will move over to pay that fall balance. Anything remaining is due by census, which is 2 weeks into the semester. And I think, I'm not sure when it's usually in September. Maybe somebody put that in the chat, but it will be due at census each year, each semester. If you have more financial aid, maybe you're taking a parent loan or an alternative loan, or you have a lot of scholarships you're getting from outside or something that you have more money than what the bill is, then the student can put in for a refund request and get that money to help for other things like books, other living expenses, personal expenses that they need, travel expenses that they need for that fall semester. And all of this will happen again in the spring, but you will also you will then enroll yourself for the spring semester starting in November, students. There is a payment plan. It's a great option for our families, especially if you're like, you know what, I can do $500 a month and then I don't have to take it out on a loan, because our loan default rate is that low because we really, really, really only want our families taking loans for direct costs, tuition fees, housing, meal plan. Everything else can be on-campus job, maybe working in the summers to offset personal expenses, transportation expenses, and books. So that's how, and then the payment plan for that first semester in August is going to be very short because you're not enrolled until later in the summer. But when you pre-enroll in November for spring, then you'll have more months in order to complete that payment plan. And if you sign up for our newsletter, there is some information about that in our newsletter coming out on March 1st. So you certainly want to sign up for our newsletter on the right-hand side of our homepage, right underneath our contact information.
Awesome. Thank you, Jill. Jill, there have been a couple of questions about like, what is the difference between a subsidized and unsubsidized loan, as well as if you have any insight about interest rates with those loans. Any information on that would be fantastic.
Anne is going to put the interest rate for them in the chat because I don't have it on the top of my head. I'm not in the weeds like that every day. But the difference between a subsidized loan and unsubsidized loan, and in order to be offered these loans, as well as offered the opportunity to apply for the parent loans, you must complete the Fafsa. So if you want your student to take student loans, you have to complete the Fafsa. Some families just want them to have that opportunity to be responsible for some of that college tuition. So subsidized requires what is called need on the Fafsa. So that expected family contribution that's calculated on the Fafsa, if you subtract that from the cost of attendance, any gap there means that you have financial need. Subsidized loan means that the student will not have to pay any interest on that loan while they're in school. Okay, so it's $1,750 that first day, and it's that much, it stays that all the way through until they graduate. There are different levels that a student can receive in subsidized loans. So we'll have many families call and say, well, can he get more of that? This is set by the federal government. The loan limits are set by them. So it's $3,500 in subsidized, no more as a freshman, and that's for the whole year. So $1,750 a semester. Then you have $4,500 as a sophomore, $5,500 as a junior senior. Now, unsubsidized loan, even though interest will accrue, and we certainly want you to pay that interest as it comes through, it's still a great deal. The interest rates are low. The principal will stay in deferment until the student graduates. And the students will then go through the repayment process. Lenders, the servicers, the lender is the federal government. The servicers who service those loans, there's all kinds of opportunity to defer payments once you graduate, forbearance and things that happen. They're super easy to work with. So if you're going to take loans, we absolutely want you to take those student loans first. And again, the limits are low enough that the students will not have any issue paying them upon graduation. So with the unsubsidized added in, the loan amount that a student can get in federal loans is $5,500 for the year as a freshman, then $6,500, $7,500 junior senior. And then they'll hit their loan limit at that point. And so you want to really take these loans first if you're going to do loans. I was going to say something else about the loan and I lost it. I'm sure I'll think of it in a minute. But that is the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized. I remember now. These loans, even though the parent needs to assist the student and complete the Fafsa, if they are not meeting any of the independency questions, like they are 24, they're married, they're a veteran, they have a child they support. Generally, almost every one of our students is that 18 to 22-year-old age range, and they're not going to be independent. They're going to be dependent and will require the parents' information on the Fafsa. And these loans cannot be associated whatsoever with the parents. So once they graduate, if they default on these loans, parents, it's not connected to you at all. Same with the parent loan. Though, if you take the parent loan, you can't give it to the student to repay. You can come up with a deal between the two of you that they assist you, but you can't give it to them officially. It is your debt. So just keep that in mind as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Jill. And there have been several links dropped into the chat section, such as our financial aid website has been dropped there. The residency link that Dale alluded to a little bit earlier is in there as well as Anne has added some information about interest rates, and other videos about loan options.
Yeah.
So definitely
that video that Anne put in there is in the newsletter come March 1st, but definitely watch that video. She did a great job about explaining all the different kinds of loans so that you can make the best decision that you can about loans.
So not only are they financial aid experts, they're part-time movie makers at the same exact time. Jill, do you also want to talk a little bit about GI Bill? I know that there's some families that have talked about. No, that's
primarily the registrar's office. So
okay, cool.
The GI Bill, which is nice, is the federal government has told us you can just ignore it. You just award the student as normal, right? So we don't really take it into consideration. The registrar's office is the one that will help you to get all the paperwork and things going so that you can use the GI Bill for your student, if you're the parent, or if you are a student coming and you are a veteran, you will work with the registrar's office to get your VA GI Bill eligibility or benefits to Mines. So it is a registrar's office function.
Awesome. So Jill, there was a follow-up question about the borrowing amounts for the students. So $5,500 for their first year. Is that just unsubsidized or subsidized? Is that a
all together? So you may see, because subsidized loan requires need, you may see on your award announcement that we mail to you or you view on Trailhead, you may see all $5,500 in unsubsidized loan. You may see a split, $3,500 subsidized, $2,000 unsubsidized, or any, it could be all kinds of split. The maximum subsidized for the freshman is $3,500, but the maximum for federal loan for the student overall with subsidized and unsubsidized, and it could be all unsubsidized, is $5,500 for a freshman, then $6,500 for a sophomore, $7,500 junior, senior. So we do have families that call up and say, you know what, instead of $5,500, can we get $10,000 in that? No, it's set by the federal government. It is $5,500 for a freshman of whatever variation of loan of the student loan, subsidized, unsubsidized, or just unsubsidized.
Now we get this question a lot, Jill, and I know it's a quick and easy one. Families always ask, is the Fafsa a one-year thing or an every year thing?
Great question as well. It is an every year thing. The only thing you really do once is apply for admission. Other than that, you are just in the mouse wheel, just doing it over and over and over again. The Fafsa has to be done every year if you want. So if you complete the Fafsa, and all we're able to offer you at that time with the Fafsa are student loans and the opportunity to apply for a parent loan. If you don't want either of those, then you don't have to complete the Fafsa again. If the income is the same, there isn't going to be really anything that changes, then you don't have to do that. It's not tied to your merit scholarships. You're okay. But if you are receiving anything that has the word grant in it, you need to fill out that Fafsa each and every year. It comes out, it opens up October 1st of every year for the following year. We have a deadline, so to speak, of April 1st. So you have from October 1st all the way through April 1st. And Ann sends out a ton of communication to the students. Please get your Fafsa in. It's Valentine's Day. What better thing to do on Valentine's Day than your Fafsa? And all kinds of cute little things like that. So it's going to be something you'll do every year.
Nothing says love like filling out the Fafsa.
That's right. That's what she said.
Also, Dale, obviously this is not just a one-year thing, right? This is a 4-year or collegiate journey. Do you want to talk about some of those 4-year graduation numbers? We've got some questions on that from the crowd about all that success that my student has to graduate.
Great question. So we'll definitely touch on that. So that's one of the points of pride for Mines. So a couple different things for context. One, most engineering degrees, STEM degrees across the country are kind of designed as a 4.5-year degree, not a straight 4-year degree. There's so much math and science that students have to cover. And that's true at Mines as well. Now, a lot of our students bring in a ton of AP credit, IB credit, dual enrollment credit, college courses, all those kinds of things, Cambridge, what have you. And so a lot of our students will graduate with their undergraduate degree in the 4 years. So our 4-year graduation rate is just a little above 60%. And then our 5-year graduation rate is above 80%, and that's for all programs. And so the reason why we really hold that up high as a point of pride is that if you look at the data for most schools, they are touting 6-year graduation rates. And if you look at the government websites that are comparing schools everywhere, most schools now are looking at 6-year graduation rates. Mines is still looking at 4 and 5, and we are vastly beating the averages of even 6-year graduation rates. So when you look, that's part of why the return on investment is so strong is when you look at how many years students are taking to get degree and get graduated, we are way ahead of the curve. And that's why so many of our students take advantage of the 18 different 4+1 options we have to include and wrap in a graduate degree. So you can actually start your master's program the last year of your undergraduate degree. You take some courses that work for both, and then you have only 1 year of grad school left. So it's a pretty dynamic way to go.
Awesome. Thanks, Dale. Jill, has there been some questions about when families see the total cost of attendance? They're seeing it for the 2021 and the 2022 school year. When will they get a sense about the total cost of attendance for the 2022 to the 2023 school year?
Right, so right now what we have on our website is the 21-22. What you will see in Trailhead, as well as on our paper award announcement, will be the estimated cost for 22-23. Those will be voted on. The cost of attendance will be voted on and approved by our Board of Trustees at their May meeting. That's when they vote on that. We have been very close every year within $100. So I don't imagine that amount will change, that you'll see on your award announcement or on Trailhead. And then as soon as it is approved, we will get it on our website. Absolutely.
Awesome. Jill, I got a couple more questions rapid fire for you. Somebody mentioned that on their award, they had something called a Minds Grant SB3. Do you want to quickly just define what that is for folks?
So anything with a grant, it requires the Fafsa. So when we award a student financial aid, we look at different factors. So we're looking at what is that expected family contribution, that number that is calculated on the Fafsa, which really is not, it's going to change its name here in a couple of years, but it's not what you're expected to pay. It's just a number that is an index that schools then use to determine the amount of financial need a family has. And we understand we have families with significant financial need. And so what you may see on your award announcement are in the way of grants. So one of them may be the federal Pell grant. Okay, that requires a certain EFC or below in order to receive a federal Pell grant. That is an entitlement. If the federal government says you get it, we give it to you. The other thing you might see is a Colorado state grant. That is for students with high financial need who are state of Colorado residents. And the third that you may see is what is called a Minds grant. The SB3 on the end is just for us as an office to know which pocket of money that grant came from, which checking account we used for it. But a Minds grant is very similar to the state and federal grants in the aspect that you need a Fafsa on file, you need to get it into us on time, and you need to still have that financial need you had when you started. We will do everything we can to keep your financial aid package the same all the way through. We do not do a bait and switch where we're going to give you this at the beginning and then we all of a sudden start taking stuff away. If your finances remain the same, everything's equal, then you should see exactly the same thing as you're going through mine. So you can plan ahead for that.
Awesome, thank you. And then this is specifically for Colorado folks. So if you're an in-state student or in-state family, this one's for you. Jill, when they're looking at the total cost of attendance, is that pre-college opportunity fund or post-college or Colorado?
So that tuition includes the cost already taken into account. We assume everybody's going to take advantage of that stipend from the state and do the two-step process to get it to us. So that on the cost of attendance, what is indicated is tuition after COF has been taken into account.
And they just have to go in and authorize it for us, correct?
They have to go to the state, which most high schools get their high school seniors to do it. They have to go through the state, do their part. And then in Trailhead, you have to do the authorization in Trailhead, and that is good for your entire time here. That's the other thing you only have to do one time, authorize COF.
And if you are an in-state student here in Colorado, that's your money. So you might as well go in
Go
and
get it.
get it right
Absolutely.
here. Hey, we just gave you money if you haven't authorized your cough yet on our financial aid webinar.
That's right.
Jill, I know you mentioned this at the beginning, but do you mind, as we come towards the end, just one more time go through the quick timeline on the notification for the scholarships from the general scholarship application for Minds Foundation Scholarship?
So the general scholarship application is open until March 1st, okay? So that is when we say, okay, we have everybody that has completed it. We're gonna now give it to all the committee members to review. We will let folks know no later than April 10th if you have been awarded one of those scholarships. We will send it to you via email, as well as then you can go into Trailhead and also see it. So you will be notified. We don't notify those that haven't because we receive scholarships throughout the year. So there could be opportunity as we move along that maybe something comes up. But that happens for the scholarship. Now, if you have not yet sent in your FAFSA, you certainly can do that this weekend, maybe next week. When we get it, then there's about a 2-week turnaround before we can get you, if everything kind of comes through, we get it on a Monday, and the next Monday, it's usually about a 2-week turnaround to get you that information in the mail, as well as we will also email you to say, hey, you have an award, go ahead and go out to Trailhead and take a look.
Awesome. There was another follow-up question. When we are talking about authorizing money, that is for in-state, that is for something called the Colorado Opportunity Fund. That is state funding that everyone gets to as an in-state student to use at an in-state college. Jill, just for everybody, we are quickly approaching the top of the hour. So Jill, what's the best way for families to get a hold of your office for maybe more specific one-on-one questions? And what do they have? What do they need to have? Is it like you say, like, hey, if you're calling financial aid for a conversation, bring these things, quid, whatever, like any advice about that to make it the best effective use of time for everybody on that call or on that Zoom chat?
So we do have contact information on our front page of our website, and in fact, on every page of our website, even if you click in. So you can reach us by phone, via email, or you can submit a meeting request and we can do a Zoom call with you. What's important to know is that if you want specific information, students, you have to email us through your Minds email account, right? So if you want specific data, we need to know, you need to use your Minds email account. And then families, if you want specific information on a call or Zoom call, we need to have that student present. So they will know their campus-wide ID is something that you need to start memorizing now. It's either a 108 or 109 number. It was on your admission letter, as well as when you claim your account, you'll need to have that information. And so having that, what we call a QUID or a campus-wide ID, a student ID, is very important. And having the student involved, I can't even express this enough. Please, please, please have your student involved from the get-go in this process of how pay the bill of financial aid, so they can come into our office or email us or give us a call, and we can answer their questions. And then we can help you to answer their questions. A lot of our families will say, oh, they are just so busy. Well, our offices have our windows on the quad of the freshman residence halls. And I'm telling you right now, as soon as the weather gets nice and warm and sunny, they are out there between 3 and 3:30 every day, throwing a football, throwing a Frisbee, and not very well because they hit our windows all the time. But they're out there playing. So they absolutely have some time to drop into our office to ask a question. We can also drop in, have you on Zoom or phone and have a conversation. We're happy to do that as well. So lots of ways to contact us.
Now, Jill, I'm going to throw one fun financial aid question your way. Okay. And that is, how does financial aid work for study abroad?
So with study abroad, we encourage you that you take part in the programs that we have with Minds. So we have a study abroad office that can say, here are some options for you to go to these particular schools. And yes, you can use your financial aid. Most of the time, it's rare that you can't, to be able to study abroad. So it's a good opportunity for our students, and student aid can be used for that. You just have to make sure you do go to class when you're over there, and you do transfer the hours back and you pass them. That's a problem if you don't, but usually our students are really good about that.
No, that is awesome. I hope you all are getting a sense that reach out to us. I know that there's a lot of, this can be a little intimidating sometimes. This can be overwhelming because every school does it just a little bit differently, but I hope you get a sense that the Minds team is very welcoming and receptive. If you're an Avengers fan like I am, and you saw the new Spider-Man No Way Home movie, there's a whole scene where Doctor Strange looks at Peter Parker and just says, hey, you didn't just call the admissions office or didn't just call the university. So even the Avengers suggest to call the admissions office and the financial aid office if you have any questions. That is a direct moment from an Avengers movie, and we all know how true that is. So we are quickly approaching the top of the hour. There have been a lot of questions. Props to all of you that have dropped questions in to our chat. And we are really excited that you were able to join. But I do want to pass it over to Dale for any final words before we wrap up this evening.
Yeah, I just want to thank all of you again for joining us. I want to thank Anne from our financial aid team and all of our admissions team for being here to answer questions, for Jill for taking an hour's worth almost of rapid fire questions about financial aid. Thank you so much for that. And I will just say, the bottom line is you're obviously a tremendous student if you've been accepted to Minds. Minds is an exceptional place, and so that's why we think it's a great match. We want you to take these last few months and really figure out what you think is going to be the best fit for you as far as a college choice, because if you find the right fit, then that's where you'll be the most successful. That's where you'll truly excel, and that's what we want for every last one of you. So please do reach out to us if you have any questions. We want to be able to answer those for sure. And I know one guest tonight asked if any of our reps will be going to New York and visiting different states. In the next 2 months, members of our team will be visiting 11 different states across the country. We're not a huge team, so we do have to kind of pick and choose where we go. I know there were guests from 40 different states on our web chat here tonight. But New York is one of those states. So if you want to get specific times and whatnot or connect, please just email me directly right there, and we'll make sure we get you the information for where we're going to be, and we can go from there. One last fun shameless plug. In April, the Amazon TV show about Minds, the college tour Minds episode, will be launching on Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime. It is, I believe, already live on Apple TV if you have Apple TV, and possibly Roku soon as well. And it's also live on their application. They have just a small Apple app if you want to go on there. It's the college tour. We're very excited about that coming out. If you have any last questions about whether Minds is the right fit for you or not, if you watch that special, that should answer every last question you have. It's pretty phenomenal. We have 6 of our different students hosting segments for that. So I'd love for all of you to tune in and check that out. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Wish you a wonderful spring, fantastic conclusion to your high school careers, and can't wait to see it here this fall. Thanks so much.
Have a good night, everybody.